Hello everybody, welcome to the MGTOW Academy YouTube channel. Today I'll be discussing 5 reasons not to get married, so without further ado, let's hop right into reason number 1. Reason number 1 being money. You will be seen as a walking ATM machine. You will be the one buying almost everything, not your wife, you. You already have enough to worry about. Your own personal money, especially things like debt. Maybe things like college, you shouldn't really have to worry about that because you shouldn't be getting married right after you finish college. But things like, let's say you were to buy a car or something, you need to worry about that stuff too. Put your own personal finances stuff. Look, I know it sounds selfish, but it's a very risky thing when it comes to dealing with money, especially at times like this. Dealing with your money is very risky, and a marriage is something you don't want to be dealing with right now. Next, money is a major factor and is also often the culprit in a divorce, which I will mention later. If you're married and you're watching this, if you have doubts in your relationship, or you feel like you're on the verge of getting a divorce, take my advice. I want you to take whatever, take it, let's say a certain amount of money. I'll explain how you're going to calculate how much money you're going to need. I want you to take that money and put it in a separate banking account, one that your wife cannot touch. What this is for is it's going to act as a backup, and I'll explain why. Okay, the amount of money I want you to put to that separate banking account should be enough to pay for a new home, a new car, and maybe a little bit more money to help pay with the essentials. Like food and whatever else it may be. If you're buying a completely new house or you're renting out, any cost, it should be covered with that money. Next, divorces will sometimes pop out of nowhere. I always think it's gonna be like a lot of the times divorces will be for money and money only. You can be dating or even married to a gold digger, and when the time is right, they can just go ahead and divorce you. That's the truth. I've seen it happen before. I've heard it happen before in the MGTOW community, and this is true. I'm not making this stuff up. It's happened before. It's 100% true. So, I'm always going to tell you this. Keep your money in a separate banking account if you're married. If you're married already, I don't want you to get divorced because that can be really risky. Unless you really need to, I really don't want you to get divorced because, well, I'm going to explain that next. But on the note of keeping your money in a separate banking account, there is nothing wrong when it comes to playing it safe with money, or, well, shall I say, your money. And like I said, next up is divorce. There is a saying about divorces in the MGTOW community. All divorces begin with marriage. That is so true, and you cannot deny that. What's so bad about divorces, though? Many people are wondering, it's just a divorce, right? Well, that's where you're wrong. See, you you're most likely going to be paying things like child support and alimony, other known as spousal support, and you could also lose valuables like your home, your car, and if you have any of your kids. Now, remember when I was talking about money, and I said that you're going to need to, well, I highly recommend that you keep some money in a separate banking account. Well, this is where this comes into play. I've read numerous stories as well where guys, I'm going to talk about one specific story. There was a guy, he divorced his wife, and they had one daughter. He had an okayish house, but in a cheap, crappy little car, because, they were like millennials at the time. So after they signed the papers, This had nothing to do with court orders. It had nothing to do with anything legal. This had nothing to do with the law. The wife came because she still had the house key, so she came in sometime in the middle of the night, and she took the daughter, the man's car. She obviously can't take the house, but I'm pretty sure she would have. And she also took some of his necessities, things he would need at work, like his laptop and other things. I'm not sure what she would do with that. Sell it on the black market, maybe. But why would she need those things? She just did it to create pure hell for that guy. She was the one who started it, but that's not what the point is. The point of that story is about money. Now, that story did have a happy ending, though. The guy got full custody of the kid back, and he became twice as successful as he was before. So all in all, it turned out good for the guy and the kid. He also drives a much better car. Let me tell you that. Uh, so that's my what do I say? That's what I have to say about divorce when it comes to marriage. Next up is child support. Man, divorced men will this will it can trigger some emotions really, because child support is devastating to guys. You will lose a lot of financial freedom if you end up paying child support, which you most likely will. Let me tell you something. Setting aside the fact, okay. So the mom will most likely win the full custody or almost all of the custody of the kid. Uh, Even if the guy doesn't have any criminal records, any acts of violence before, or anything like that, anything suspicious, the moms will most likely end up with the kid, even though they could be probably the most irresponsible parent and the one who triggered the divorce. So, it's just, I mean, let me use a real life example of how child support can affect you your entire life. It will haunt you the rest of your life. And believe me when I say that. You have to know Robin Williams. And obviously, if you know him, you know he killed himself, sadly. He hung himself at his home because he had depression, obviously, now. Why did he have depression? I was stunned. I was devastated. I cried a little bit when I learned this. It was sad. Um, I just didn't get it at first why he would kill himself. He was a happy guy. He had it all. He was living the life. He's a successful, huge comedian. He's an actor. He had it all. Why would you kill himself? Well, turns out to be, you know what it is, child support and also alimony. I'll cover alimony next, but child support, mainly child support. He divorced his ex-wife, and he had to pay child support and alimony. Now, I'm not sure if you know this or not, but the reason that Robin Williams became an actor was not because he liked to act, but because he had to. He had to come up with a form of income to pay that child support and to pay that alimony. He had to come up with some form of income to help pay to completely cover the costs of child support and alimony. Now, obviously, he had gone a long way from child support and alimony, but regardless of that, the fact that he has, just the child support and the alimony, it haunted him through his entire career and throughout his life. And Robin Williams set the perfect example of how child support and alimony can devastate you the rest of your life. If this doesn't show you what damage child support and alimony can do, I don't know what will. Next up is alimony. I don't have that much for alimony. It's not because I'm lazy. I am feeling super productive today, I'll tell you that. But alimony is pretty muchly the same as it's kind of the same as child support, but it's not exactly the same. Let me explain. Child support is money to help support the child. That's why it has the name child support. Alimony is also a name for spousal support. and this is usually for the wife. In your case, it will be the wife. Um, the reason it was created was to help wives who are in need of financial support, the one who needs the money most. You know what? A lot of the times it turns out that these women don't need alimony or spousal support, yet they still get it. It's like child support, except it's doubled. It's like twice. It's like paying two different child supports basically. Alimony is no different than child support, in my opinion. You know why? It goes towards the baby, but not your kid. I'm talking about your ex-wife. My fifth and final reason for not getting married is because of restrictions. Yes, restrictions. And I know that when you are in a relationship of any sort, you obviously have to sacrifice your part to keep it alive and to keep it healthy. Marriages, you have to sacrifice even more. Now, there's been no difference really in marriages. Everyone had to put in their fair share of sacrifices. So everyone was kind of a little bit. Everyone had a couple of restrictions on their life when they get married. That's just a thing. That's just the thing you should be expecting. However, in the MGTOW community, what a lot of guys were not expecting were too many restrictions, and they're not complaining. I've read what they can't do because of their wife. It's unbelievable. It's ridiculous. They're the ones who are working their asses off, with 12-hour shifts at low-paying jobs just to support their wife and their kid. Yet the wife, the one who stays home, and let me remind you, does not take care of the kid. The wife does not take care of the kid. She's the one that makes the decisions. The guy comes home. He takes care of the kid. He does everything. He pays for everything. The wife made the decisions. She made the decisions on where to live, how to decorate the house, what house to choose, things like that. And she used up his money. Thankfully, that guy divorced, and also, unbelievably, won full custody. You heard me right, full custody of the child. That's amazing. I've only heard stories like that maybe twice or three times, and that's just phenomenal. But like I'm saying, it I'm gonna tell you how I've seen this firsthand. I am not going to tell you their names, but I'll explain the situation. Personally, in my own family, one of my uncles married my aunt. She became my aunt. They met in medical school, and because they're both doctors, they met in medical school, and when we were meeting each other's families, I wasn't born at the time, but like when my uncle's dad, so that was my grandpa, was meeting the girl's family, they looked into their history, like they asked them who you married to or who you divorced, and they found out that a lot of the people on her side were divorced. Now, I'm not trying to talk. I feel guilty for saying this, and I don't like to talk behind people's back. But that should really tell you something. That should, set off a couple of warning bells in your head. Like, there's a problem here. They probably have some family issues. Well, the uncle didn't really listen. My uncle didn't listen, and today he wants. I'm pretty sure he wants a divorce. The wife treats him. How can I say this? Like shit. How else can I say it? She treats him like shit, and that's the utter truth. I think that's the only time I'm gonna curse on this channel. I promise you. I'm gonna try not to curse anymore. But that's how she treats him. I've been there before. I've seen it firsthand. You know, the uncle is a nice person, but he himself has changed. His attitudes changed. His behavior has changed, all because of his wife. And I'm pretty sure that he knows himself that if he gets a divorce, she's gonna get the kids, the house, all pretty much most of his possessions, most of his money, and he's gonna end up paying child support and alimony. Even though she's a doctor, he's probably gonna end up paying that stuff. I guarantee you, he most likely will be paying that stuff. She doesn't even allow him to call his mom. I mean, that's ridiculously, like, that's just, I don't know, it's just stupid, okay? I don't know how he puts up with it. He's a nice guy, he's my favorite uncle. He has to put up he has to put up with a lot of that stuff. And that's, it's gotta take some balls to handle that stuff. I felt sick. I had that knot in my stomach just watching them argue. It's horrible. So yeah, that is it. All in all I have to say is don't get married. It's most likely to end in a divorce with your ex-wife taking in let me repeat that, your hard-earned cash. So, let me say it one more time. Don't get married. These are 5 reasons not to get married. Something, obviously, basic MGTOW principles are to not get married or be in any relationship of any form. I guess you could say that these reasons could also apply to having a girlfriend or dating somebody. I mean, a marriage is no different than having a girlfriend, except the relationship is officially declared through cultural beliefs and by the law. There's really no difference, really. When it comes to marriage, it's just like having a girlfriend, except it's officially declared through your culture or through the law, or both. There's essentially no difference. So, if you ever have any doubts in MGTOW, or if you ever think, or if you're ever tempted to get married, remember this video. And if you still have any doubts, ask me in the comment section below, and I will answer your questions, and your doubts will be gone. You will be confident in your decision to swallow the red pill and go MGTOW. You won't regret this decision. Many others haven't, neither have I. My life has drastically improved ever since going MGTOW. I cannot explain how happy I have become ever since going MGTOW. I don't date, and I'm too young to do that anyways. But I've noticed that now that I've gone MGTOW, I don't stare at women anymore. I'm not gonna lie, I do that. But my life has improved. I'm so happy with the way I am, and the reason I created with this channel was to spread MGTOW and its philosophy and its beliefs and things like that. That's the reason I created this channel. There's no other reason why I would create this channel. I'm not in it for the money. This channel is secret. Nobody else knows about this channel. It's just, like, there's no other reason that I made this channel except to spread MGTOW. That's the only reason that I made it. I've spoke with many other leaders of the YouTube MGTOW community, like with Joseph Smith, and there's a guy named Teen MGTOW. I spoke to him as well, and they all agreed with what I had to say, They all wished me luck on my channel. So, if you haven't seen my channel introduction video, I highly recommend you check that out. Remember, if you ever have any questions that you need to be answered, go ahead and ask them in the comments section below. I'll get back to them. If you have any other separate questions that aren't related to not getting married and stuff like that, you can go ahead and ask them anyways, and I'll probably answer them in the form of a video. I'll try to do that. Haven't gotten any questions yet, so my next video, it'll be up by tomorrow. I'll tell you, it'll be up by tomorrow, hopefully. I don't know what else to say. This is an audio podcast. The audio podcast will be available at SoundCloud.com. The actual link will be on the description below. I haven't yet created a SoundCloud account though, and I need to do that urgently. In the meantime, go ahead, subscribe to me if you're new to the MGTOW concept, watch the channel introduction video, and go ahead and subscribe to other MGTOW YouTube channels. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and declare an end to this podcast. This is MGTOW. Alright, sorry, I lost my train of thought. This is MGTOW Academy. Out.